So a lot of people have asked me how fast the Pioneer will go. My Pioneer is a 2018 Pioneer 700cc. So let's see what it'll do. There's not much traffic on this road, so hope you can see the speedometer right there. Let's see how fast it'll go. All right, we're on level ground here. Okay, so I got it up to 41. I really didn't want to take it any faster than that. I think it'll probably do 43 maybe, but I think it'll go a lot faster. Keep in mind, I've got a windshield on mine. I've also got a roof, and the roof actually creates some drag as well. Plus my Pioneer's got about a little over half a tank in it. I'm the only rider in it, so it's not carrying a lot of weight, and I don't have anything in back except that old bucket. So I think the 700 will probably get up to about 45, 46 without a windshield on it. First ride across the bridge of the Pioneer. Nice and solid. So this is one of the fields the planter guy bush hogged this morning. We're going to plant oak trees in this field. Lots and lots of oak trees. That's a mess. That'll be one of my next projects to fix that. Those pine trees right there are about 3 years old. They're looking great. These pines are also, I think, between 3 and 4 years old. I planted those, and they're doing great. The beaver killed about half of them, but we came back and replanted. That's why there's some smaller ones and some bigger ones. But they're looking really good. This group are 2-year-old pines, and everything I've planted is loblollies. So those are beautiful 2-year-old loblollies. They really take off. They grow like cane. see right here, the scratch marks on that tree, that's called a deer rub. That's where the deer have come along and rubbed it. Almost killed it too, but it seems to be growing okay. These are about 2 years old too. They're not doing so great because they don't get full sunlight. If you look at the base of some of these trees, you can see where deer have rubbed on them. A couple of them deer have even killed. Like this tree right here, deer have rubbed on it so much they killed it. There's somebody's shooting house, like a tent, shooting tent. All these trees are doing great. I planted all these about 2.5 years ago. They're doing really well. You may notice this looks like all these stalks coming up are corn stalks. This is actually the crop from last fall, from last October. There's an old shooting house. I need to take it down. This field also was planted in corn back in September. It was planted mostly for deer. There's the lake. There's alligators in this lake. That's an oxbow lake that was created by the Yalobusha River in Holcomb, Mississippi. And about 90 years ago, the Army Corps of Engineers rerouted the Yalobusha River and they dammed up the part of the river here, and it created this big lake. There's beaver, alligator, gar, catfish, lots of critters in this lake. I got to work on this crossing too. I really need to put a bridge here. This is always a problem. I've been putting concrete in this creek for about 5 years, and the water washes the dirt out from under the concrete and it sinks, and then I put more concrete in and repeat the cycle. There's my planter over there on his tractor, bush hogging this big river field. check out those neat trees, how the bark peels off of them. It's pretty cool. Let's check on my apple tree. The apple tree is looking pretty good. I need to put a cage around it to keep the deer from killing it. And this is the Yellowbusher River. It used to be a major waterway. Now it's pretty much just used to control flooding. The river was rerouted for farming purposes. And this river is fed from Grenada Lake. Whenever they plant trees, the first thing they do is bush hog the field. So my planter there has got his bush hog out going over this field. And after they bush hog it, they're going to come back, put a hook on the back of his tractor like that. And that hook is going to go 18 inches deep in the ground. And that's called ripping. They're going to rip the ground open. And after they rip it, it has to rain on the field twice, and after we get rain twice, then they can come back and plant. We're going to plant 24,000 oak trees, and they're going to plant it in one day. He brings in 17 guys, and they plant 24,000 trees in one day by hand. They're not going to do it with a mechanical planter on his tractor, because you have to make sure when you plant trees that your root structure is straight. You can't bend your roots, and you can't break your roots or bend them when you put them in the ground. So they have a device called a dibble that they make a hole in the ground deep enough for the roots, and that's what the ripping's for. When they rip the ground up, they make an 18-inch deep trench. Then it has to rain twice to fill in the bottom of the trench with all the loose dirt and to get it good and wet, because oak trees love water. And after that, they take a dibble and they slightly open the ground where it was ripped, and they put the tree in, and then they make another hole with a dibble and close the hole the tree is in. So that's how they plant trees. And they do that 24,000 times in one day. It's amazing. So I'm gonna come back and get some video when they plant, let everybody see how that works. Here's something else. This is river damage. I hope you can see this. This is just terrible. The Yellowbusher River used to go from there all the way through there, and when the Army rerouted the river that way in 1907, 1910, somewhere around there, you know, that's where the lake over there was created. But the river is slowly trying to retake its original path. A couple of times a year, water gets so high that it completely covers this field. So this is what the damage the river will do, or what the damage looks like the river will do. You can see over here all the trash that comes down the river, and this is what's really disgusting about people throwing their trash out. All the trash down here comes down the river, and I'll come out and pick it up. 3 or 4 months later, there'll be more trash out. Anyhow, we've tried to get the Army Corps of Engineers to come and do something about it. Nobody wants to tackle this problem. They tell me that it's about a $1 million to $2 million problem. Right here, a year and a half ago, you could walk out to where that tree is out there, and that was all solid land, and the river's just slowly eating through the field. It's trying to retake its original path. You can see the damage. Water's an incredible force. So we're gonna have to do something about this at some point, or it's just gonna go right through this field. The whole reason that we started the tree planting process was no government agency claims they have the money to come and fix this problem. So they said an alternative is you can plant oak trees, and the oak trees will stabilize the ground. So that's what we're doing this for. We're doing the planting to try and stop this, but I really don't think it's going to stop it. If you look over here, there's sort of a cove cut in back over there, and that cove, since last March has gone 20 feet farther into the field. And I've had a lot of people from the government come and look at it. Corps of Engineers has looked at it. USDA has looked at it. Everybody pretty much says there's nothing we can do except plant trees. And anyhow, the crazy thing is, I still have to pay tax on this. I'm still taxed on the property because our property line goes to the river. So we pay tax on land that's just being washed out in the river. And they say there's nothing we can do about it. So anyhow, that looks like a coffin down there in that tree. I hope it's not. I might walk down there and see what that is. Okay, here's a better look at this. You definitely get a better look at all the trash that comes down the river. People throw out. People are so disgusting. Anyhow, you can see the bank. Where the river rises, it just cuts away the bank. It's pretty bad. And there's nothing that can be done. The solution would be to bring a couple of hundred truckloads of gravel and dirt in and refill this area, and then line the bank with something called riprap, which is sort of a limestone rock. And you know, the price is too high for the government to take it on and do it. Now, they said they'd be glad to have me do it, but I can't spend $1 million to do this. So anyhow, I thought that's what we paid tax dollars for. Well, yeah. So where I'm standing right here, 1 year ago, this was field. I would have been up there. And that's how bad the river has hit us in the past year. And what happens is, and it's amazing how fast grass takes hold and grows when the river clears the land out. There's a curve in the river, and the force of the water when it gets really high comes right through here. And it's just eating the land away. Yeah, I don't think that's a coffin. That looks like I don't know what that is in the tree. It's some sort of box or wooden container. I hope it's not a coffin. Anyhow, that's enough of that. I wish the government would come and do something about this, but I don't think they will. So we're just going to keep losing field. Hopefully the oak trees will stop a lot of the erosion. Let's take a ride down by the lake and see what the lake looks like. I'm going to have to do something about that tree pretty soon before it falls and hurts somebody. This is what the Pioneer's made for. This is the lake. It's duck heaven. It's also a beaver heaven. We try and get rid of the beavers. They just come back again and again. You see that big log the beavers chewed up over there? And in the summertime, it's alligator heaven. Check out this log the beavers ate. That used to be one of my pine trees. I planted a couple of years ago. The beavers have made it their mission to kill all my pine trees. And we'll come through and we'll try and do something about the beavers, but they just always seem to come back. The lake, the Yallabusha River comes into the lake. There's actually a channel that comes on the backside of the lake. So there's no way to completely get rid of every creature that comes in here from the river. Look, there's a mussel shell. Huh. Some sort of animal has been out here digging up mussels. There's another one right there. They live in the mud. So something's been out here munching on mussels. See right there? That's what a beaver did. They chewed off that tree. That tells me the beavers are alive and well. I guess it's time to go beaver hunting. And I know somebody's going to say, don't hurt the beavers. Beavers are an incredibly destructive force, and they're the worst enemy of a landowner. Especially a landowner like me who likes to grow trees. I like to grow things, beavers like to kill things. Let's go over here to this pine stand. I'll show you what beavers do, why they're so destructive. Some of these trees are 3 years old, and look, they're already 25 feet high. They're beautiful. A beaver will take a tree, and you can sort of judge by my leg about how big that tree is, or my arm. That tree is probably 8 inches diameter. A beaver will cut that tree down in one night. I planted hundreds of trees. Actually, I planted about 7,000 trees in the past 4 years, but beavers will come along and just chew it up. There's a new one. I replanted that one last year. I came through here, and everywhere a beaver had chewed down one of my trees like that, I replanted. And beavers love young pine trees. I guess it's sweet, the sweet taste. Even the small trees I planted, they've killed some of them. There's one I planted last spring. It's coming up good. Some of them are coming up good, but this whole area was covered with pine trees, and you can see all the stumps now. Beavers do this in about 2 weeks' time. It just really terrible to see this. And once they do it, the tree dies. Or once they start chewing into it, the tree dies. So if they attack it, by the time they break the bark and get to it, most of the time the tree dies. Now here's one that they chewed on right here. They actually chewed it down to a stump. You see the point right there? And the tree still survived, which is surprising, but it grew out like that. This tree will only be good for ground cover. It'll never be good for timber, because now it's crooked. What you want for timber is a tree like this that's never been chewed on and it grows straight, or one like that right there. And beavers will take a tree this size, they'll chew it down, pick the tree up, and drag it hundreds of yards to the lake where they build their beaver den. Here's a tree a deer's been rowing on, and it's still alive. Anyhow, I'll come back this year and probably plant another 500 or 1,000 trees and try and repopulate this area. There's a creek right over here. And if you notice, there's sort of a trail here going to the creek. Beavers will cut down a tree, and they always go in and out on the same trail. That's how you trap them. You sort of find their, what's called a slide. You can tell where something's been going in and out here down into the creek. There's not enough water in this creek to float a log down it, so a beaver will drag the log down to the creek and drag it along the creek all the way over to the lake. It's amazing what they're capable of. And there's Mr. Pioneer, the best side-by-side on the market. So this whole field, everything up to the hills over there is going to be oak trees. All right, let's head out. See how the cane grows at the edge of the field? You cannot get rid of that cane. It just takes hold, and if you don't cut it down or bush hog the field, the cane will just take over the field.